Hi, I'm going to take you today through an explanatory video on the differences between a side kick and a turning kick. The reason we're doing this is because there's a lot of confusion about this. A lot of people don't know how to execute them correctly. They're not sure about the striking part of the foot. They're not sure about the motion. They're not sure about the follow through. And really there's two ways to learn these things. One, the quickest one is to go to a practitioner who does martial arts and ask them to show you. And it doesn't really matter what sort of discipline they do, because the kicks are essentially the same from style to style with some sort of philosophical or conceptual differences, but the structure is the same. The other way to learn is to do it yourself at home, time and time again, and eventually the adaptations that your body will undergo in order to optimize that move will give you a fairly credible, fairly efficient martial arts kick. The second approach is perhaps a little bit less direct. It is a lot more internal and intensive for you, because you have to internalize a lot of things and you have to be careful to understand how your body flows. I'm going to give you as much information as I can on these things, hoping that this video will clarify a lot of these things for you. Even if you're doing them for fitness purposes, I'm a strong believer of visualization. If you can visualize what you're doing, if you can visualize a target, if you can visualize a scenario, you're more likely to do it correctly, you're more likely to get fired up when you're doing it, you're more likely to want to do it again, and that's what it's all about. I absolutely love kicks in terms of fitness. I think it's a great way to free your body, to feel empowered, to feel powerful in your own skin. And it also gives you a sense of fun, because you sort of visualize, conceptualize an active combat scenario without any risk to yourself, and that's always great to sort of do. Okay, let's start with absolute basics. Now, before you do any kind of kicking, you really need to warm up well. If you're not sure what kind of warm up to do, in Darebee we have some warm ups which you're going to see in the screen. I'm going to link to in the description box below. We also have a kick guide, which is fairly detailed with different illustrations and a lot of words explaining everything. I'm going to link to that in the description box below as well. But here we're only going to look at two types of kicks, and we're going to start with side kick first and then turning kick. If you're not sure what kind of warm-up to do, the easiest warm-up to follow always is do some hip rotations, because basically your hip area, which is your pelvis, your pelvic area, links the body's upper and lower kinetic chains and keeps you limber and warm. And if next you're not sure what to do, the safest thing to do is to perform the kick in slow motion, relatively slow motion, at whatever height you're comfortable. So if you're going to do a side kick and you're warming up, you can start by doing this, for example, or if you're doing a turning kick again, you can do this, like that. And I know these two right now look very similar, they use similar muscle groups almost. We'll soon see the difference. Okay, let's start with absolute basics. These kicks can be performed from the front leg or the back leg. The leg which you perform it with essentially generates a lot of power, because it's pure physics. You're moving the mass of your body a particular distance in a particular direction at a particular speed. So if you think that I'm going to move the mass of my body a little bit to the front, at the impact point I'm going to generate the power, which is that mass times the acceleration. So essentially that's my kick. Because the front leg, the amount of space I'm going to move is going to be restricted, so the power of front kick is always slower, but it's a faster kick because it's a shorter distance between my leg and the target. To demonstrate, I'm going to do it slowly, of course. I'm going to do a side kick with the front leg. Every kick starts the same way, chamber position. So from here, we have this chamber position where your foot is, your leg is shaped like this. Arms are up. The kicking leg and the kicking arm are on the same side, so the arm is pointing to the target for balance. My backhand is to my chest. If I do a side kick, well, there you go. I do this. Pay attention to the standing leg. There are two ways to do this. If I want to move my mass a little bit, basically my standing leg moves just minimally. And if I want to move my mass a little bit more, I can choose to move it a little bit more by pointing now my foot all the way back, almost 180 degrees, and that moves my body forward by the same amount. That's physics, right? So I'm basically transferring my mass. By the same principle, if I do a back leg side kick, now I'm moving a much greater distance from my mass. so it generates more power. I'll show you from here. If I'm there, I just do this, and you can see without much power how much further I moved the target. I'm using a 44 kilogram bag here. It's about 90 pounds. It's fairly light. As soon as we hit it, it actually moves, and it helps demonstrate the power because it doesn't have a lot of absorption when you strike it. Okay, so let's start by going through a side kick first, performed by the front leg. So from here, chamber position. Now I've got to choose, am I just going to touch the target, or am I going to go through it a little bit more? So from here I just extend, and I go there, and I do that. So this is how I did it slowly. You notice I didn't maintain my balance because I'm busy talking to the camera, but if I do look at the target, then it's easier to maintain what I'm doing. I drag my leg back, and I can put it down. Done quickly, it looks like this. From here, boom, and down. And if I want to do it a little bit harder, it means I need to basically pivot on my standing leg. That moves my mass a little bit further, and that gives a little bit more power. So again, same kick with a bit more power, looks like this. As you can see, the bag moved a little bit further, just a little bit. If I were to do the same thing now with the back leg, however, I'm going to have to turn my back to you because I'm using this leg. So from here, you're going to see how it is. Watch how much further the bag will travel on the same kick. So basically, you can see how much more powerful it is. How is this kick performed? Well, here it is. If it's a back leg, again, I have to go to chamber position. My standing leg now begins to pivot, 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 and from here, I just extend it. There you go. Things to pay attention to, the striking area of the foot. With a side kick, you have two choices. Choice number one, you're using the edge of the foot. So basically, you shape your foot like this. So you'll be able to extend it, and you try and bend your toes back a little bit so it can give you a little bit more tension on the edge. Or you can just use the flat of the foot. So you keep your foot relatively relaxed. You come around here, touch it there, and push out. The striking area in competition has a significant role because it can generate more impact. You can also get through a narrow gap if somebody has a guard set up and they're guarding their body. But you know, for fitness purposes, this is just academic. It's nice to know, you don't have to use it. So, going through side kick again, we go to the chamber position. We're here, we're going to extend in a linear line. You've got to think that basically a side kick is a linear kick. It goes from here, it's like a push. If I was using my arm to demonstrate this kick, this is what it looks like. From here, there's a target, boom. Okay, it's in a sort of linear extension, it goes in a straight line, and I take my body's mass behind it. So that's what a side kick looks like. Let's see it a little bit faster in action. So from here, there's the target. I'm going to nail it. It's about waist height for me here. I'm going to use the edge of my foot. Look at my hands. The hand, which is on the same side as the kicking leg, is extended towards the target. The other hand goes to my chest. That's for me to maintain my balance. So if I drop it, what's likely to happen is I'm here balancing. If I will balance just a little bit, it's going to drag me away. So keep these things in mind. The positioning of your arms is really important. You bring it here, you extend, and you do that. Okay, so let's see it a little bit faster now. So from here, it's going to go boom, like that. Okay, like I said, it flies, it's light. Okay, I'm not kicking that hard. So let's do it again. From here. Okay. So let's see the turning kick now. Turning kick starts the same way. We raise the leg, arm position is the same, so we'll go from here, chamber position, you can do it either the front leg or the back leg. In terms of physics, it's the same thing. The difference, however, is that in a turning kick, if I was to demonstrate using my arm, instead of going like this, I'll be going like this. Or with this one, like that. So basically, on a target, a turning kick is to the side. So you're trying basically not so much to move the target as to simply generate a particular impact at a particular point on it. So how is it performed? Well, here we are. There's the target. This is where I am. Chamber position. I shape my foot now. I'm going to make contact on the turning kick with either the top of my foot, which is the instep, or if I want to go through a tiny opening in somebody's guard, I'm going to bend my toes back and connect with the ball of the foot. Okay, let's see how it works, however, in the first instance, using the instep. So from here, I'm going to point to the target with my hand again, other hand to my chest, and it's like that. With these things, you can use just your muscles if you want. So if you're just using balance, without having much of a shift in mass, you can just go here, pick it up, and there you go. Barely moved, despite the fact that, you know, it's a fairly hard kick. If I use my mass, however, I'm going to have to travel through it. So to demonstrate my hand, if I was doing this, instead of stopping there, I'm trying to travel through it like this, big slap. So I'm going to have to go like this, and now it's moving. Okay, so demonstrate in slow motion. Chamber position, looking at the target, pointing the target, other hand in your chest, extend, back, down. Okay, doing it a little bit faster, and here, boom, like this. And if I want to put a bit more power into it, I have to move my body's mass through the target, so it's like that. Okay, if I also do the same thing with the back leg, same principle to start off with, chamber position, arm and leg, point to the target, come this way, boom, extend, come back, and down. Or if I was doing it faster, from here, come back, and down, like this. What do you need to know? Striking points, striking area with the turning kick. I said you can use your instep. Sure you can, like I have been doing until now. But suppose I want to use the ball of my foot, I bend my toes back, come here, boom, and there it is on the target. So basically what you're doing is making the target, the impact point a little bit smaller, and you're increasing the power at that impact point. Academic, unless you're doing competition fighting, and then it becomes quite critical. Other things to worry about on these things is your breathing. You can see I'm talking to the camera, looking at the target, looking here. I should be focusing only there really. So when you're doing it, visualize the target, and as you execute the kick, exhale. So if I was to do it in a fast, focused way, if I'm doing a turning kick with a back leg, I point to the target, here it is, I'm going to point with my arm, which is the same size as the kicking leg, there, and down. Again, you can see that my feet, standing foot is pivotal here, because it pivots. So from here, as it comes up, I'll pivot, I come round, and kick, and down. And I do all that in one smooth motion. So from here, and down again. Is there an easier way to execute these kicks? Yes, there is. You can do them from standing position only, with minimal movement of your body, and they're called snap kicks. So you can have a snap side kick, and a snap turning kick. You call them snap, because essentially you're only using your quads to fire them up, and you have minimal mass transfer of your body behind the kick. So if I was here, for instance, on a side kick, let's say I can barely reach the target, I'm just about there, I'm gonna kick it now with all my strength, boom, barely moves, simply because it's snap. So all I'm doing is bring it here, flicking it out, flicking it back. That's just making contact. The same thing with the turning kick, we go boom, and again it barely moved, although it makes quite a sound when it impacts. So, mass transfer is what gives you the power. You exhale through this. Your balance is defined primarily by your arms, because your arms basically maintain your upper body balance. So if you drop them, if you're kicking like this, which are classic mistakes, then you will lose your balance and get disheartened. Don't worry about the height if you are starting out in these things. The height of a kick, because I can kick about here and kick above my head if necessary. So if I go here, for instance, I can do that. It's fairly easy for me because I've trained in this and I've done it for a long time. But essentially, what makes the height of a kick is tendon strength, ligament strength, and a little bit of flexibility. And I mentioned a little bit because with just a little bit of work, pretty much anybody can get to head height. Where flexibility becomes critical is if at head height, you're going to do two kicks. So you go here, like that. And then you have to maintain your leg up there fairly easily. Okay, these are things to train for. So essentially what you have to remember is if you're doing a side kick, you're making contact with the side of the edge of your foot. or the flat of your foot, if you want to, or, well, there's nothing else, the flat of the foot. So essentially it's a linear kick. If you're doing a turning kick, then you can use the instep, or you can use the ball of the foot by bending your toes back, and essentially the kick comes from the side. So I'm going to demonstrate them again one more time in slow motion so that it can help you. Okay, so from here I'm going to focus a little bit on target and bring up my foot. I'm in chamber position, extend, here it comes down, that's a turning kick. Doing it fast now, same kick. Okay. And do the side kick now. Chamber position again, from here, extend, this is my side kick. Go down, doing it fast, and down. And that's all there is to it. So don't get disheartened with these kicks. Think about what I told you. Follow the guides we have, which are written guides, which give you a lot of stuff. There's also some video guides which demonstrate those kicks as individual kicks. But now that I've shown you on a target, I've shown you all the stuff which I apply when I do them, hopefully you know a lot more about them. Hit me up with questions below if you're not sure about something, and just sort of get to it. It's an amazing thing to do. It looks great when you do it. You feel great because it actually feels good inside you. You get your body to be free. You do all the stuff that you've seen in sort of manga cartoons, if you're watching them like I do, or martial arts movies, again, if you watch them like I do. But also, you get the sense that you control your body. And having that control is really what it's all about. So, if you're doing them for fitness, don't stress out. Just keep on doing them. Gradually they'll click as you get better. If you want to know the conceptual differences, just go through this video, go through our guides, and see if you can internalize a little bit for yourself what we just covered here. Thanks very much for asking for this in the first instance. Hopefully we'll have a lot more videos in the future. Keep on training, stay safe out there.